Welcome to Season 3 of The Biz Show, sponsored by InvestQuire. Discover what's next with this insightful podcast. And now, your hosts, Barry and Lisa.
Happy Friday, Barry.
Hey, Lisa, how you doing today?
I've been doing pretty well. It's been a nice week.
That is, we're getting close to the end of the week. By the way, you said happy Friday? It's Thursday.
I know we normally do our recordings on a Friday, so
Right. You're
I
traveling.
transposed myself in time. I'm traveling in time.
You wish you were already in the plane flying over here to the East Coast, huh?
Tomorrow I'm landing in North Carolina. So if for any reason we cannot get on our connecting flight, I will be calling you.
Okay, very good.
911, pick us up from this stinking airport.
Are you Wilmington or
Um,
Raleigh?
I have to look. I think it's Wilmington.
Wilmington? That's only 50 miles from here.
Oh, okay. Well, I was supposed to fly out yesterday and the connecting flight got delayed a whole 24 hours later. So I was so happy that I rescheduled to fly on Friday, but I thought, well, if I get stuck in North Carolina, I could certainly bug Barry Bestpitch.
There you go. And what am
Hopefully
I
I
doing
won't
out
need.
here on the East Coast? I'm out here opening a new office for us.
You're opening another branch of InvestQuire and meeting some great people over there.
Yes, yes. I feel that the East Coast has been underserved. I'm finding that out that, and it's probably got to do with our work ethic in California and being speedy and Johnny on the spot and stuff like that. And I'm not knocking anybody here on the East Coast whatsoever at all. I'm just saying that things move a little bit slower.
Yes, they do. In
And
California, it's a big rat
every,
race rush. Like you're gonna,
everything is a rush,
you
yes.
could tell just by the people driving on the freeway, right?
Yes.
So
Well, so let's
speaking about speed limits,
Speaking of speed limits, that's really what this podcast is about. And it's specifically it's about growing your company and having a speed limit to that, right? So you don't want to grow too fast, right? So about company growth and speed limits on that, right?
yes,
We're
I
going to
know
talk. Go
we
ahead.
like we like to see growth. We just have to do it at the right pace.
Yes, it's got to be measured and monitored, right? You got to, you can't drink water out of a fire hose without ripping your lips off, right?
That never works. So yeah, we're here to go over that, why growth matters and how um, you could actually defeat the success of your business if you grow too fast.
This is it. I mean, we're going to talk some strategies, pitfalls, and really talk about some companies that struggled with this. And you'll know these companies, they're all well-known companies that had a lot of growing pains. And so you as an entrepreneur can learn from their growing pains and not make the same mistakes that they did and keep yourself out of trouble because it sidelined a couple of them for a couple of years
Yes.
and pushed them back in progress.
Yes, and they have to revamp and restructure to get back on foot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's talk about it. So, growth
First,
is really the lifeblood of the business, right?
that
You're
that's the
adding customers and
yes, that's the first thing I mean, you got to have growth, right? And without growth, then you're not going to go anywhere.
no, we want to build a reputation in the marketplace, and by increasing your numbers and having customers, happy customers, that is definitely going to lead you to having a positive growth with your company. So let's talk about some of the positives, different companies that we've seen grow dramatically over time.
Yeah, there's a couple companies that really struggle with this in the beginning, right? Amazon, they struggled back in the early 2000s. Um, you know, Jeff Bezos said he was going to invest heavily into, growing and aggressively prioritizing growth in the business. And things really suffered big, right? What suffered big? Well, first of all, the application wasn't ready for the growth yet, right? So the website and all the back end stuff just, it would take you sometimes weeks to get an order. And now look at Amazon today. You can order something and get it the same day.
The same day. It's like a miracle. I don't understand how it works, but I do know from the real estate and commercial world that they're popping up, Amazon centers and buildings and warehouses all over the grid.
Yeah, and so look, they're basically the number one retailer out there, right? I mean, besides Walmart and Amazon, Amazon not being a box store or a traditional brick and mortar, and Walmart being that, they really dominate the market. And the other one, Tesla, right? Elon Musk, and he had some scaling issues with his company. What comes to mind to me mostly is when he got up on stage and he had his new truck ready to go out and it had bulletproof glass and watch, we're going to throw this rock into the window and it won't break. Oops, it broke. Remember that? Did
Right.
you see that?
Oh my God, I missed that. I'll have to pull it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So they're
there are,
talking about how good this truck is. Well, first of all, they had to push the truck out, right?
oh
Because
yeah.
because it wasn't really ready yet. And then
Oh
when they
right.
when they got it there, they were just talking about the windshield and the windows and they were hurricane force windows and bulletproof and then he had one of his guys throw a probably about a 6-inch rock into it, broke it, went right through it. Like, oops.
Yeah, that's
But
not a
anyways,
good example.
yeah. So what fails what what's a pitfall there is reputation, right? And really launching your product before it's ready for launch and things like that.
Yeah, and you don't want to run out of cash because that could be the downfall of your business, and you go through money fast. So
Well, yeah, that's the perfect, that's it. Just the kicker is that, right? Both Amazon and Tesla pretty much almost ran out of cash. And growth is risky fuel, but it burns fast. You're right. Absolutely.
well, Tesla's the leader of the EVs,
They are
right? A lot
today.
of other car companies followed suit and created models that were EV or hybrid types of cars, but they truly are the leader. I mean, I don't see hardly any other car on the road other than a Tesla these days. They
You know,
are
it's funny.
all over the place, the
Living
parking
there
lots.
living there in
Hmm.
Irvine, yeah, you see a Tesla everywhere. I mean, you probably go to intersection, there'd be 20 Teslas, you
Yes,
know.
it's crazy. In
I-
every parking lot, there's Teslas everywhere.
Out here,
Um,
Lisa,
no?
I think I've seen 3 Teslas since I've been here
Wow.
in a month.
Interesting. That says a lot.
It's mostly California.
Well, we met that business owner that is thinking about selling his transportation business. And speaking of Tesla, we're not going to need drivers because they're going to have those driverless cars that Tesla's coming out with. Um, and so that will do away with an Uber driver per se, right?
Yeah, I have a story about Google probably 10 years ago. I got to drive in a Google self-driving car.
Yeah,
That's for a different podcast because I could take an entire podcast just talking about that experience.
let's do it. Were you scared?
Not at all. I was actually looking forward to it. And it was, at times, it was kind of interesting because, it was like a little smart car, the
Yeah.
little teeny ones. It had a bench seat. It had no steering wheel,
Oh
no
my
gas pedal, no
gosh.
brake,
That is
just
so
a
crazy.
dash, a blank dash.
It's like when you're flying airplanes, so you have a little bit more of that risk taker in your personality. I would be like, what am I doing in this metal box with no steering and no brake? Oh my gosh. I don't know if I'd ever get accustomed to that, but I never thought I would get accustomed to a driver car either. And my car has some of those features.
Yeah, so
But
does
if
mine. I
you,
use mine all the time.
yeah,
And
that's
Tammy always
awesome.
complains when I turn them on. You're going to get lazy.
Oh my gosh.
So let's talk about some of the risk of growing too fast, right? There's three big things, right? So, you're going to have customer service is going to break down and fail. Your employees are going to get burned out, and then your reputation of your company is going to take a big hit. You know, so
Yep.
so let's, there are a couple companies that we can learn lessons from on this, right? Customer service, right? Satisfaction, customer satisfaction. Uber comes to mind, right?
Uber. Yeah.
Yeah. Uber had some growing pains and struggling with the customer service piece because they were growing so fast they couldn't get enough drivers.
Yeah.
there were long waits and stuff like that as ridership grew, and customer service just really fell apart. Driver satisfaction tanked, and then there were a lot actually lawsuits that followed behind this thing. So they really had some hurdles to overcome because of the fast-paced growth that they were on.
Yeah, and that's kind of when your competitors have a breakthrough because the leader is failing a little bit. And so that's when the competitors can shine. And so Lyft came about and everybody was
Yeah.
like taking Lyfts, and then
It,
um, Uber rebounded though. They rebounded. They started offering like gum and water and phone chargers in their cars. The
yeah.
smart drivers did, because they wanted to make a tip, right?
Well, yeah, and that all comes about in the sense that as one company fails, another one's going to pick up the ball and run with it, right?
Yeah,
And I feel like it's this not a cat and mouse game, but one person's in the lead, maybe the tortoise and the hare, right? And then the other person's in the lead, and then the other person's in the lead, and they're kind of just, you know, piggybacking
like a
back and
horse
forth.
race. Yeah,
Yeah,
like horse races I
exactly,
just
exactly.
went to last weekend. But yeah, I think that's a good thing. We can learn from our competitors when they do come forth with another idea, then, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Now you know what to do better. And it, like you said, it becomes a friendly competition.
Yes, exactly. So the second one was employee burnout. I've seen this so many times, Lisa, so many times. Um, Way back, even in my keep in mind in GE, I took a business from $60,000 a year to $55 million a year in 3 years.
Mhm.
That is
Yeah,
substantial growth. And I went from 3 employees to 150 to 250 employees in that time frame too.
yeah.
And fortunately, I hired the right people. I got my HR in place so we could get the interview set up with qualified people. I got training people involved so we could actually put curriculum in place to
Mhm.
train the people of how to do things and stuff like that. But a lot of companies don't. And if you're a new company, you don't really know what you need to do, you know?
Oh my gosh, usually you're scrambling at that point if you don't have the business management experience that you do. Then people just scramble and they hire anyone, and they could be hiring people that are not qualified for the job or that can actually take your business down further and ruin your reputation even more. So that's really the learning curve of like really knowing how to handle situations when you're in the position of what do I do to maintain the level of business that's having a huge climb. So
Exactly. And employee burnout really affects customer service because your employees are going to complain. And today, what do
yeah,
they complain? Social media. Who's looking at social media? Everybody, your
everyone.
customers. So WeWork had
Yeah,
issues, and so did Goldman Sachs,
yeah.
right?
It's not just employees. The team leader or the management could have burnout, you know, just from
Yeah,
not having proper systems in place or being able to leverage their responsibilities of running the company. So,
this is
yeah,
true. I
that's
mean,
why we always say stay ahead of the curve, stay ahead of the numbers, and have a really well thought out business plan.
well, you're right. We do say that. And it's critical that you do that. Rework, they had this growth plan and they started like with over 100 cities. And
Yeah,
and the 100 cities, I mean, they got investments from certain banks and stuff like that. But then they crashed and burned, and then all of a sudden the investments imploded. They were going to go IPO, and then that imploded, you know. And it's really
sad.
a
Yeah,
cautionary tale of growth too fast. Goldman
yeah.
Sachs, their employees basically went on social media and said, "Hey, man, we're working so hard, we're working over 100 hours a week." And then there was a big social media backlash on Goldman Sachs for that, for
Oh wow.
basically being like slave drivers and just really beating down their employees and forcing them to work and stuff. Um,
Yeah,
it was terrible.
not good.
Yeah.
Definitely not good.
And then on reputation, what we have on reputation, Lisa?
Oh yeah, when your reputation's at risk, I mean, the whole world's going to see that too. And a big company that we all know of, I live there, is Starbucks,
It's
and that
Starbucks in the 2000s, huh?
happened in the early 2000s because
Y-
their stores just kept populating everywhere. So they went from what, 1,000 to 13,000
Yeah, yeah,
in a 10-year span.
they did.
So, and then you had customer satisfaction that kind of fell. Other coffee shops were popping up. Maybe more mom and pop shops were successful because they had, a better level of customer service. And people thought, why am I paying extra premium for lousy coffee or lousy service?
Yeah. That's the thing, right? Because when you grow too fast, really not one of these three things are affected. All of these three things are really get affected, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the bottom line is, you could have issues. We're going to talk about a company just down the road that actually is gone because of it,
Yeah,
right? So it's like, wow, and in the real world examples, Shopify had issues, right? They had issues, but they were able to solve it quickly, right? In the fact that during the pandemic, they thought that things were going to calm down and stuff like that. Instead, they picked up.
it picked up for them. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so, but they estimated what the pandemic was going to be. And so um, they
A
had
lot.
to lay some people off to kind of get restructure and get back on track.
Yeah.
So even though it could be a success story, there's still a learning lesson to be made right there. But
So then yeah, so what happens on the flip side of that is if you grow too slowly, that could be a risk to your business as well.
well, yeah, and that's when your competitors come in, right? And all of a sudden they outpace you.
Yeah. Yeah. We had those video stores. I was just talking to somebody about how you would walk into a video store and spend a good 20, maybe 45 minutes an hour to pick out a movie and
Yeah.
how fun that was, to be able to see things and touch them and read the back of them to find out which movie you wanted to take home and watch. Blockbuster Video was the big one, right? That had the market lead on video rentals for your VCR at home. And then do you remember it kind of led into those little red boxes in the grocery stores where you would like for a buck 99 be able to rent a CD? Because then the VHSs were gone, and then it became a CD and they had the red box.
Yeah, those I remember those days, right? Blockbuster, Redbox and all that. That was really cool. But
Yeah,
nowadays it's Netflix, Hulu, Amazon. You just do it
yeah,
from your chair now with your remote, right?
exactly.
One company I wanted to talk about, it's a major failure, right? Was Quibi, right? Quibi was in that era of the video apps and stuff like that. They
Uh-huh.
raised $1.6 billion to grow this company, and it just grew so fast. But they never test anything, and they just kind of haphazardly put everything together. In 6 months, gone. One point
Wow.
$1.8 billion gone in 6 months.
So sad when that happens. It's just so sad.
Yeah.
That's when they
So,
need to call us, Barry, InvestQuire.
we can definitely help, right? That's what we're here for. Besides selling your business or helping you buy a business, management consulting, business consulting, we can definitely provide guidance and show you how to do certain things. Basically, if you have a gap, a knowledge gap, we can fill that in for you.
Exactly. Yep, you've done that many times.
We have. So let's talk about what do you need to do? How do you monitor this? How do you manage that growth, right? There are certain things and processes you can put in place. There's also some apps out there that can help you do this too. So, companies, who knows what the right speed is, For some people, it might be, I want to grow $2,000 every month. So if I'm making two, then four, then six, then eight, that's a happy,
The
sustainable
steady
growth,
pace.
right? It's steady
Yeah,
growth. And honestly, that's what I suggest. I'm not suggesting 2000, but I'm just saying a steady growth, right?
right.
Um,
A steady
you know,
growth in numbers that's consistent instead of
right,
just like spurts here and there. And then you're overstaffed when you're slow and you can't afford to pay everybody their wages. So definitely having a steady climb and consistency is key.
right. And we when I was teaching business and stuff like that, We were looking at single digit growth, the high singles, like 8, 9% growth. Nowadays, it's probably a little bit more towards 15% growth. You start hitting 20% growth month over month,
Yeah.
you can't handle that. Now you're starting to drink out of that fire hose again,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, but how do you monitor their stuff, right? There's programs out there that can help you monitor that. Uh, Companies like Score, Net Promoter, and there's other things out there too that can help you with employee retention, operation costs, keeping that down. Even QuickBooks can help you with some of this stuff. There's mechanisms built into that program that can help you, and you can ask it, right? You can ask QuickBooks, what is my growth from, January, February, March, April, and you can get those percentages, and then you know where you're at.
Shoot, you could probably upload your last 3 years of P&Ls to like Grok or ChatGPT and ask if you're growing at a steady rate and get some AI feedback.
This is true, and the AI does help a lot. Um, I found it to be 80% consistent. But just remember that and I had a conversation with a colleague just the other day on this, is just remember that all of those AIs are trained on the internet and what's out there, right? And so there's junk out there too, right? And
Yep.
so it's got to somehow disseminate what's the difference between the good and the bad, and it doesn't always get it right 100% of the time. So always, always, always double check, right?
Double check your facts.
Just don't
Absolutely.
go, just don't go into Chat GPT and go, oh, okay, here, and send it because God knows
It's a
what you just sent,
it's a quick way to validate yourself, I think, right?
or unvalidate yourself.
Or hopefully it does raise an eyebrow and you're like, okay, wait a minute, let me get a double second opinion.
Right. One of the biggest things that I've seen, that we've seen with companies that have grown too fast, is their infrastructure is not grown with them. So they've got systems like, I mean, we've in InvestQuire even have a little bit of growing pains in regards to CRM and, marketing and things like that and getting it out. And we kind of had to work on it a little bit. We're good now, but nonetheless, those are always things that we have to monitor.
Yes.
So, burnout for your employees, you just really need to watch them. You probably need to check in with them on a regular basis. Make sure that I'm a big proponent making sure that they know what they need to do. You've communicated that. They have the tools
Oh
to get
yeah.
it done, and then you give them the time to get it done,
Yeah,
right?
and positive reinforcement goes a long way. Praise and acknowledging their work, their hard work, and maybe giving them some, bonuses or team building events or something that's actually fun and takes them out of the workplace.
Right.
Enforce that they take their time off or the scheduled days that they're paid for. You make sure they're utilizing them.
Yeah, exactly. So yesterday, NVIDIA made a big press release saying that they hit a speed bump, right?
Yeah,
And so this just goes to show you any size of company
can
can
happen.
run.
Yeah.
It can happen to any size company. Right now, NVIDIA, I mean, is worth trillions of dollars, but they don't have enough money to fix it. Why don't they have? Well, there's different reasons for the road bumps and the speed limits and stuff like that. In their particular case, the chips just can't be made fast enough,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they've got all this demand for this chip because computers and obviously AI want power, 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 chip, 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 and it keeps growing, and now there's a backlog in that stuff.
Yeah.
So they have grown 56% year over year for the last couple years, which is phenomenal. And is that sustainable? No, because their systems aren't keeping up with it. The
Right.
employees
Growing
aren't.
along with it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So a lot of that's slowed down, and that's back to the chip manufacturing. They can't build the plants fast enough and fill them full of people to build them.
Yeah, and they get their some products and resources from external, factors like in China, right?
When that's an issue all by itself, right? With
Mm-hmm.
tariffs and stuff like that. And so what's happening to them and what you know NVIDIA mentioned was the fact that now they're losing some stock. The stock is going down because some investors are pulling out, right? Because investors are skittish, right? And
Yeah.
especially in the stock market, it's going great. I'm in. One little hiccup, boom, I'm out. And
Yeah.
and so a lot of people are kind of backing up. The sediment is kind of like, oh, what's going on here now? So
Yep. I
anyway,
mean, a lot of companies will face these bumps in the road, and it's all what you do with it. And right, having the management or somebody to support you with consulting on which way to turn, what path to take, and what needs to be implemented. And that is really the key to having a good growth pattern that will create more and more success for you over the years.
exactly. You couldn't said it better myself, Lisa.
We face that all the time in talking to business owners that want to sell because they are, like you said, I think mostly burnt out or wanting to retire and move on, but they're really not at a place to sell because they're kind of on that pivotal place where if they just do a little bit more marketing, get their numbers up, then they could rightfully sell for a great value. Um, but there's that level or plateau that people reach because they just don't know how to do it. And that's why we're here for you guys.
That is why we're here. And I've said this many times, I'll say it again. How do you know what you don't know if you don't know what you don't know, right?
Exactly. And you're
And
not alone. We're all there. You could actually, don't be shameful of asking for help because people get, very prideful on the company that they built and they just don't know how to take it to the next level or to a place that would be a very, sellable company.
right, exactly.
I love seeing companies succeed. So,
That's right there. That's my end game, right? So
yeah,
I mean, yes, we
exactly.
need we need to get paid and all that stuff, but for me, when that light bulb goes off and in their head or they succeed, I feel I've got my reward.
You made your impact. Exactly.
Exactly. Well, that's a wrap, huh?
That's a wrap, Barry. Thank you so much for your time today.
Well, you
I was
too.
love
And
seeing you on the Zoom. We gotta go video. Everybody's on video.
yeah, we'll be there by the end of the year.
We don't need all that high tech stuff.
Yeah.
There's so many apps and software programs
Oh,
now.
no, no, we don't
Hopefully,
need that. We won't start there. Maybe somewhere down the road, but
yeah,
right now I'm producing this, and so it's in my capabilities.
exactly. Well,
Okay, well,
thank you all for listening, and please don't forget to subscribe to the Biz Show and
wherever you
InvestWire.
get your podcast, yes.
Yeah,
And don't forget, you can reach out to Lisa and myself at investquire.com. And at the Facebook, we have the Biz Show, we have a Facebook page. So you can get a hold of us there.
this is true. Make it a great one, guys.
All right. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Biz Show podcast. Subscribe to stay updated and follow Barry and Lisa on Facebook at The Biz Show. Share your comments or suggest specific business topics you'd like to hear. Bye!